And we're not talking about military freedom, but doesn't that apply there too? We're talking about freedom in a broader sense. So I'm going to start with my own personal story. 16 years ago, I call a certain day my Freedom Day. My Freedom Day. Because I finally had the courage, guts, to free myself from a relationship that was not good for me. A long-term relationship. I'd spent 15 years. But I didn't think I had a choice. Or even when I knew I did have a choice, or I glimpsed that I might have a choice, something so heavy held me back. Because I knew also that I was going to disappoint another person. Because this other person didn't want me to leave. And so I knew it was going to be hard, and I knew it was going to be heavy, and so I stayed for a long, long time. When something finally stirred in me and said, you know, you really need to have the courage to take care of yourself here. You need to do what's right for you because you can only live your own life. At this time, I was only 42. So I thought, you know, I'm still, in my view, young. I still say that 16 years later, but I was like, you know, what do you want for your life? And so I decided to end that relationship, and yeah, disappointment happened. It was scary. It was kind of sad. It was extremely unfamiliar territory, as anybody knows who's left a long-term relationship one way or the other. At the same time, it was exhilarating and exciting and happy and joyful, all those emotions at once. But I still honored that I honored the courage in me that it took to walk away from that situation and to say, yes, Sean, you do have a choice. My Freedom Day, and I still recognize it and celebrate it. If anybody's on Facebook with Becky and saw the roses that she sent to me for my Freedom Day, now you know why. Some people said, what's that about? So it's really very personal for me. And so here I am now in a new apartment, deciding where to put stuff, which is also both exhilarating and scary and unfamiliar territory. I remember standing at the linen store, linen outlet, going, what sheets do I want? What linen do I want? What bath towels do I want? Going, I'm so excited, I get to choose my own. And like, oh my God, how do I choose my own? You know, there was like all this all at once. So that freedom also came with some, I don't know how to be like this. Unfamiliar territory, I call it. Something inside me, though, just said, just keep moving. Ernest Holmes said this little quote, and I have it up here on PowerPoint, Ramon, if you don't mind. We have thought that outside things controlled us, when all the while we've had within that which would give us freedom. Now I was studying science long back then. In fact, I was already a minister by then, and that gave me the impetus. But these words right here really speak to that. I thought at the time that outside things controlled me. Matter of fact, I thought I didn't have a choice. But all the while I had within me that which would have given me freedom. And this is true for all of us because there's only one thing. Okay? With all the while we've had within us that which would give us freedom. It may take years to get there. It may take years to find that courage. But something in me knew I had it. And I'm guessing something in you knows that you have it in you too. Or you wouldn't be here. So this is just kind of a reminder or maybe a wake-up call. You have the courage to live a life of freedom. To live a life of choice. So even this talk title today, so on my Freedom Day earlier this week, I turned to Becky and I said, what should I talk about this week? And she said, how about freedom to choose? I said, perfect. So she gets a little credit for the inspiration for the talk title. Freedom to choose, freedom to be. So Ernest Holmes, on the very first page of the very first chapter of our teaching in the Science of Mind textbook, says this, very first page. I think that means a whole lot. He says, the divine plan is one of freedom. Bondage is not God ordained. Freedom is the birthright of every living soul. All instinctively feel this. Instinctively, right? It's that little voice inside. All instinctively feel this. Thus, the inherent nature of humanity is forever seeking to express itself in terms of this freedom. We do well to listen to this inner voice, for it tells us of a life wonderful in its scope, of a love beyond our fondest dreams, of a freedom which the soul craves. A freedom which the soul craves. I love those words so much. The freedom is instinctual. Babies know it. Babies know it, right? Babies up through probably about 4 or 5, they know it. They know it really well until our culture squashes it out of them and teaches them how to behave. I'm not saying that we need to not do that. Of course, children have to learn. However, you see it in babies. They understand freedom is instinctual. They're automatically moving towards whatever that is. We can do well to remember that. It's our God-given selves. We instinctively feel it. Sometimes we just don't allow ourselves to live it. We hold back for many, many reasons. Now, let me be really clear before I go on any further. When I talk about freedom to choose, I am not in any way, shape, or form denying things like slavery. I'm not denying things like prisoners of war, okay, because that happens. So this talk is not denying any of that. But really where I'm going with it is our mental, emotional, spiritual freedom to choose our lives and to be ourselves. So who remembers back in late 1990s, there was a movie called Life is Beautiful.
Oh, yeah.
Some of you remember Life is Beautiful? If you never saw this movie, here's the basic gist. That there was a family who were Jewish who had moved to a cute little town in Italy. And this father was always so happy-go-lucky. He married the woman of his dreams. They had a little boy. And in the beginning scene, it was so beautiful, this little cute Italian village, and riding his bike and putting his son in the basket, and life is beautiful. And he always said, life is beautiful. He always taught that to his son. Life is beautiful. He was a librarian, and he loved books, and he loves flowers. In the movie, the Germans come in. Mind you, I just said he was Jewish. So his family gets taken to a concentration camp. And the woman, they weren't just going to take the man and the boy. They were going to take the woman. And the woman said, no, if they're going, I'm going too. But she was over in the woman's part. So the whole rest of the movie is about this man deciding to let his son play a game. And he decided that I'm not going to let my son know how terrible this is. Life is beautiful. So he told his boy, this is a game we're going to play. And there's certain ways that we can earn points, and there's certain ways that points get taken away from us. And every time things would get really heavy, the boy would say, I don't want to play this anymore. The father would just talk to him about what a great game this was. And the whole time you see this father enduring a whole lot of hardships just so his son doesn't have to really experience the hardship, even though things around him were very ugly. The dad was instilling in that son that sense of mental, emotional freedom. That sense that even in this harsh environment, we're gonna experience freedom. The movie reminded me a whole lot of the Viktor Frankl mindset. If you're not familiar with Viktor Frankl, he was an actual Holocaust survivor. And he said basically that same thing. These people might be enslaving my body and my being, but they cannot enslave my mind. They cannot enslave my heart. Gosh, if people in a concentration camp can have that kind of mindset, how much easier should it be for us? Right? The things that we complain about, the things that we feel we don't have freedom. But the truth is we do have the freedom, but we forget, or we think outside things control us. I'll be the first to admit that sometimes our freedom does seem railroaded by things, especially governments. So that whole movie was about the German government coming in. I sometimes feel like some of our freedoms right now are being railroaded by governments. Oh, thank you. I feel disheartened and I feel discouraged by many of the things that I'm hearing our government do, which feel to me like taking away some of our freedoms. But when I get in that funk, I do two things. The first thing is I acknowledge what I'm feeling. I acknowledge that I'm in a funk. I acknowledge that I'm feeling disheartened. I acknowledge that I'm feeling